All right, welcome. Welcome to December, the last month of 2021. Welcome to a month of hibernation Hatha. We're going to be just doing a nice slow practice this month to continue to honor the darkness and the winter season, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. So we're just going to be nice and slow and intentional. And today we're going to do some extra hip stuff. Um, Essentially, this is the second part of my daily practice, what today's class is going to be. The first part is the bed yoga that we did last month. So I do that, and then I come into this practice. So normally this practice only takes me about 15 minutes, but it's more of like a get my life started kind of practice. And today we're going to slow it down. And I want to offer this practice to you because this is one of the things that I do daily to really hit every aspect of my body and just make sure that I am opened up and ready to go into life. So you're going to find yourself seated to start. Just taking a couple breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Let those shoulders drop down. Just exhaling loudly, letting go of any tension or stress. Just hanging out in your field, letting go of everything that's happened today before this moment. Just let it go. And actually, before we get started, let's start off doing the breath work for this month. The breath work this month is kind of, while it is the continuation of Mind Mojo, which has been working with the breath for the last couple months, I would also put this under Body Mojo as well because it's a very physical aspect within the body. It's called 3-part breath. And you're going to want to lie on your back for this. And I want you to break your torso into 3 parts. So we've got the lower abdominals, pelvis. We've got the upper abdominals, lower rib cage. And then we've got the upper rib cage. So we're splitting into those 3 sections. 3-part breath is exactly what it sounds like. We are going to be focusing on each part of the breath. So if you were to think about your whole torso from your neck to your perineum as a barrel, that's kind of the picture you want to have. And as we inhale, we will fill up the lower part of the barrel first because that's how, physics works. And then we'll start to expand through the mid barrel, and then we'll fill it all the way up to the upper barrel. Now, I call it a barrel because this visualization helps you think about yourself as a round being. So oftentimes we think about breath as being just kind of like this thing that happens in our upper chest. We don't bring into account our rib cage around the side body. We typically don't bring any thought into the back body. It's kind of like the lungs. And anatomically speaking, when I say lungs to you, typically people almost see them sitting in front of their chest, almost like boobs. And they encompass the whole rib cage. Your lungs are back here, your lungs are in here, your lungs are up here, and they actually massage the heart. So that's why oftentimes you'll hear me say, take a deep breath. It's going to massage you. So it's going to massage the heart. It's amazing energetically what it does for the heart, that little hug that every breath gives it. But then because our diaphragm is like a balloon that drops down into our abdominal cavity, when we take a deep breath and that diaphragm comes down, it compresses our internal organs, which also massages those internal organs. So when people come to me and they're like, I'm real constipated, poop is not a friend, I look at their diet, but I'm also watching their breathing, because chances are they're having a very shallow breath. They're holding their breath a lot. So when we say that constipation leads to, or sorry, that stress leads to constipation, it's typically not because of the hormones or that stress activity in the body. It's because the breath is shallow and being held. And when that happens, we don't get that nice massage churning action every single second of our lives, where our diaphragm presses down and massages all of our digestive organs. So breathing, if you're not pooping, check to make sure you're breathing first before you change anything else. So hopefully we all have good poops after this class today. I'm going to lift this up to give you a little bit better of a view of what's going on here. So we're thinking big barrel. I'm round, roly-poly. And as I inhale, I want to hold the upper and middle parts of the breath to start. So we just want to English is not working for me today. We want to separate them each out. So we're going to separate the lower self first. So you can bring your hands onto your belly, like right where the upper abdominals and rib cage are, and onto the chest. And I want you, as you inhale, to try to keep those still and just feel the expansion through the lower abdominals and the low back. You'll be able to feel it really well in the low back because it'll press into the floor. So a couple rounds of breath, trying to identify just the lower aspect of your barrel. And we typically don't breathe into this area. We'd like to keep it up high and shallow. So this might feel real weird or real hard, which is why we do it. Got it, and then relax that. Now I want you to take your hands and one on either side of your rib cage. We're going to focus on this middle section, and your hands are here because I really want you to focus on pressing outwards, because we really tend not to use the 360 degrees of our rib cage. So if you're pressing gently into your rib cage here, as you inhale into just your midsection, you're going to feel the rib cage widen out into your hands. So we're trying to keep the chest and the low belly nice and relaxed and unused. And we're focusing on this expansion, which if I sit up, you might actually be able to see it. You'll be able to see my hands move here. Inhale and exhale. So there's quite a bit of movement. Cool. And then we're going to let that go and move into the upper part of our barrel. So chest, collarbones, shoulder blades. So as you're on the floor, again, you're going to be able, this is easier because this is oftentimes where we mindlessly breathe into. You can just drop your arms out to your side. Or actually, no, bring your hands onto your low belly and your upper belly so that you feel those being nice and stable. And I want you just to breathe into this upper body so you feel the collarbones widening, the chest lifting, the shoulder blades widening. Chances are that's going to feel more normal. Great. And we want to take this a step further when we do the whole three parts, if you've got 2 blocks or 2 pillows or just 2 objects that you can set on your side, what we're going to do is inhale fully into our midsection so that we get as wide as possible, and then you're going to mark it with some type of item. Now, you don't have to do this. It's just if you got stuff laying around, you might as well, right? So it'll go right at rib cage height. I'm going to inhale fully into my rib cage, get as wide as I can. And then I'm going to set those blocks there. So just barely kiss my rib cage. And then I'm going to exhale and there'll be space. And it's cool to feel that space. I've got a solid, I can fit all my fingers, sideways down the edge here. So there's a good amount of space that we will normally breathe into. Next, I'm going to put these on their side. So that I've got more room for my arms. And then I'm going to bring one hand onto my upper chest, one hand onto my lower abdomen. So now I've essentially got sensors for each section, okay? One hand on my belly, I'm going to be able to feel the belly rise. Whatever objects I'm using in my rib cage, I'm inhaling to the point of kissing those at the top of my inhale. And then I got the other hand on my chest to feel my chest rise. Now, how we want to do this is just with physics. We fill up the bottom of our barrel first. So as I start to inhale, I fill my lower barrel, my belly first, my lower abdomen. When that's full, I spread it up into my ribs. They get wider. And then up into my chest. So everything expands. And then as I release, everything all together shrinks back down. So you inhale into lower abdominals, go back into the rib cage, get wider, up into the chest and shoulder blades, and release. And again, inhale, lower belly, lower back, rib cage, chest and shoulder blades. Get as big as you can and pause. Now sip in a little bit more air and see if you can get a little bigger. And pause. Sip in a little more. Pause. Sip in a little more. And release. So you can start to challenge your capacity to hold breath. Again, we inhale low belly, low back, rib cage, shoulders and chest. Pause. Inhale a little more. Expand through all three parts. Pause. Inhale a little more. Pause. Inhale a little more. And release. One last time. Inhale, low back, low belly. Rib cage. Chest and shoulders. Pause. Inhale all into all three. Pause. Sip in a little more. Pause. One more time. And release. Beautiful. Give yourself a rock and roll all the way up. You can keep your blocks handy if you'd like. And we'll come onto all fours. Just taking a moment, cat and cow, rounding through your back, and then arching through your back, and just working at your own pace, really pushing as far as you can into each direction. Finding that neutral spine again. And now rolling around the rib cage in a big circle. So it's as if you are inside of a pipe and you're trying to run your rib cage around the inside of that pipe. So I'm taking it all the way to the left, all the way into a rounded back, all the way to the right, and then all the way down into an arched back. And my head and hips are just along for the ride. My focus is completely on the rib cage. And then switch directions. Beautiful. Come back to a neutral spine. Walk the hands forward a little bit. Tuck the toes, and then lift yourself up into plank's pose. Holding here in plank, use your feet to shift your weight forward over top of your hands. And then walk your feet in by lifting your hips up, all the way up to your hands, and relax down into a forward fold. Try to keep this 3-part breath going through your entire practice today. Bend your knees and roll up. Oh, standing nice and tall, we want to try that 3-part breath again. As we inhale, belly, low back, rib cage, shoulders and chest. Everything exhales. Inhaling, belly, low back, ribs, chest and shoulders, and exhale. One more time. Belly, low back, ribs, chest and shoulders, and release. Beautiful. Standing nice and tall. Imagine roots going through your feet down into the floor. And then we inhale, reach our roots and our arms up high towards the heavens. Exhale, bow forwards. All the way down as far as you can go. And we're going to lengthen out our spine here. So hands can come onto the shins, the ankles, or stay on the floor. But we want to think about leading with the space right at the base of the neck between the shoulders. And think about that place as pulling you up into a flat back. So we're not taking the head forward. We're lifting up and lengthening from our tail out the back of the head. And then as we exhale, we release all the way down as long as we can, and then a little curl in as we just gently tuck the chin to look up towards the pelvis. Good. Again, inhale, lengthen from the back of the neck. Exhale, floating down. And then tucking and looking towards the pelvis. One last time. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, float on down. Beautiful. Plant your hands, step your feet to the back of your mat. Now I'm still recovering from a couple surgeries, so I'm going to modify everything. If you want a stronger practice, feel free to not modify. I'm going to drop my knees down, then I'm going to exhale, lowering down towards the mat. Just before I touch the mat, I'm going to press up into up dog, and then really send my chest forward. And I think about tending, almost like taking my kidneys down towards the head of my mat. So my heart goes up and my kidneys reach towards the head of my mat. My shoulders are down. And then I retuck the toes and press up and back, downward facing dog. First things first, I pull my shoulders away from my ears. A nice long neck. And then really push through the hands and lengthen up through the seat. From there, press your thigh bones back and your heels down. You want to feel that energy of the thighs moving towards the wall behind you and your heels moving down, and it should almost feel like you're creating more space in the front of the ankle. Good. I'm going to lift my heels, lift my hips, roll my spine forward, get my weight into plank, and then keep my hips lifted as I walk myself in. Forward fold, tuck the head, look for the pelvis, bend the knees, roll up, ragdoll. Big shoulder roll up and back at the top. Beautiful. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Look for the pelvis. Inhale, lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, step back into plank and hold here. Lift your belly into your low back. Drop the knees, lower down to chaturanga. Inhale, sweeping up into up dog. Heart goes forward and up. Kidneys reach towards the head of the mat. Shoulders are down. And then I tuck the toes and lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Shoulders away from the ears. Lengthen from the hands to the hips. Push your thigh bones back and your heels down. Breathe. Find that 3-part breath again. Lift your heels, lift your hips, roll forward into plank's pose. Keep the hips lifted as you walk them in. All the way into your forward fold. Bow down, look for the pelvis, bend the knees, roll on up. Big shoulder roll, up and back at the top. One more time, inhale, sweep it up. Exhale, folding forwards. Tuck and look for the pelvis. Inhale, lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, step back, plank's pose. Hold here, draw the belly up and in. Drop the knees, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Take a moment to work through your down dog. The way I like to do it is to bend one knee and then the other. Really pedal through the feet. So when one knee is bent, I'm really focusing on that bent knee's foot and pushing through it so that I'm stretching the arch of the foot, and at the same time, that long leg, I'm working the heel towards the floor. Another one of my favorites is to cross one leg in front of the other and gently use that bent leg to push back on the thigh of the extended leg. And that usually gives you a really nice outer hip, outer quad stretch. And then I switch sides. Lift your heels, roll forward. Keep those hips light and lifted as you walk forward. Inhale, this time lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, bow, tuck, bend the knees, roll it up. Beautiful. Now into some hip stuff. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale, forward. Inhale, lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, right foot steps back. Right knee comes down. You can release the right foot or not. It's up to you. And then you want to lead this pose forward from your extended legs, hip. So in this case, my right leg is back. So I'm going to think about this thigh bone pressing forwards as if it was trying to touch my left heel. So instead of thinking of coming forward in the bent leg, it's from the extended hip. And that should definitely change and deepen the pose for you. We're going to hang out here for a couple breaths. So any variation that feels appropriate to you. Maybe you want to come down. But I want you to stay either with your hands or your arms on the mat. We'll go into a deeper version in a second. I find that when I lead with the hip, I get deeper because then my chest will eventually, once the hip can't go any further, it just floods up my spine and my chest moves forward. And as my chest moves forward, it presses into the left knee. And I go just so much deeper into the pose and in a very parallel fashion. Whereas typically when we're stretching through the hips, we like to externally rotate, and that takes us out of alignment in the hips, and we end up kind of bypassing a lot of muscles that really need love and attention. So from here, I'm going to tuck the right toes, plant the hands, lift the right knee, step the left foot back, so I find myself in plank. Lower the knees, lower the chest, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Nice full breaths here. You can have a dynamic down dog and move around and explore things, or you can just stay static in one place and focus on one area at a time. Lift the heels, roll forward, plank pose. And right foot steps forward. Left knee comes down. You can keep the foot flexed or release it. And now I want to focus on driving my left hip forwards to take me into this pose. Feel free to play and explore and find exactly where you get the deepest stretch. But again, keep either the hands or the forearms on the floor, because we'll go into the lifted variation in a second. And tucking the left toes. Lift that left knee up. We're going to step forwards with the left foot into a forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, bow. Tuck and look for the pelvis. Bend the knees. And then roll up. Big shoulder roll. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, step the left leg back. Bring the left knee down. Draw the left hip forwards. And then keep the pelvis where it is as you start to bring the torso up. Keep pressing forward with that left hip, left thigh. And think about lifting your belly up and back as if it was going to come into the middle of your back. Shoulders drop down. So as much as the pelvis is reaching forwards, it's also tipping backwards. So the bottom of the pelvis, in theory, is the part that's reaching forwards, while the top of the pelvis is trying to move its way backwards. And then take the left arm up so we get nice and long. And you're going to just gently tip to the right. So in this variation, we're going to keep the rib cage square to the top of the mat. And we lengthen through the left toes and through the left fingertips. And then I like to take my elbow onto my knee here and open up into kind of a reverse twist. So my left arm reaches back towards my left foot, and then I'm gently pushing my right knee forward with my right elbow, and I'm bringing my whole torso and ribcage backwards as my hips move forwards. And left hand comes down. Left toes tuck, lift the knee up. Step back into plank. Roll up and back into downward facing dog. I totally skipped the vinyasa there, so if you want to take that, feel free. Lift the heels, roll forward, planks pose. Left foot steps forward. Right knee comes down. Release the right toes. Drive your right hip forwards. And then bring the torso up. So again, the bottom of the pelvis is really focusing on sliding forwards, while the top of the pelvis is sliding back. So when we come into these kind of lunging poses where the pelvic floor needs to be lifted, but so often isn't, you want to think about just kind of doing a Kegel, imagining that you're stopping your urine midstream. And that's going to help engage Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor block. Right arm is going to lengthen up. Again, my rib cage stays nice and square, and I just tip to the left. So opening up through that right rib cage, sending the right hip forward even more. And then again, I take that twist where the elbow pushes the knee forwards as the right arm reaches me backwards. My low body is trying to move towards my left knee. My upper body is trying to move towards my right toes. And then you swing that right arm down, tuck the toes, lift the right knee, and then step forwards, lengthening through the back of the neck. Exhale, bowing down. Tuck, look for the pelvis, then the knees. Roll up. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen through the back of the neck. Exhale, right foot steps back. Stay lifted this time. We're going to just reach into that left knee. So the right hip is going to drive down, and then the left knee is going to reach forwards. So we don't end up in kind of this sagging position because we're extending through the left knee and the right heel. That right thigh is really engaged, and you should feel your right glute and hamstring engaged here. So while the hip is kind of pushing down, the thigh bone is almost pushing up. And here I'm going to plant the right hand and take the left arm up into a twist. Now as I do this, it's common to see that right hip drop down and internal rotation happen. So I want you to imagine that someone's got their hand right here on the top of your right thigh and they're lifting it up and out. A little bit of external rotation sensation as you twist internally through the upper body. I'm going to take a couple big arm swings. So the chest, as the arm comes down, is going to square to the bottom of the mat. And then you're going to reach up and rotate. Bring the left hand down. Step the left foot back. Drop the knees. Come to chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Lift the heels, roll forward into plank pose. Step the right foot between the two hands. Keep the left knee lifted. Again, we sink that left hip down, send the right knee forward, left heel back. Engage that left quad so you feel the thigh bone actually press up towards the sky as the hip is reaching down. Find that sensation of an external rotation as the left hand melts down onto the mat and the right arm reaches up. So we find opposition, external rotation through the left hip, external rotation through the right shoulder, and then big circle, down, forward, up and back. A couple of those. Bring the right hand down, square off the chest. And you're going to step that left foot forward to meet the right. Inhale, lengthening through the back of the neck. Exhale, bowing down. Bend the knees. Roll on. Big shoulder roll. Beautiful. We've got one more full round. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bow forward. Now lengthen through the back of the neck. And then exhale, right foot back. Sink the hips down, send the right heel back, the left knee forward, push your right thigh bone up. Now try to hold that, draw your belly in towards your low back, and roll up. So I think most of the time I've led you into a deeper version of this lunge by having you bend your back knee. We're going to try it a different way today. So I actually want you to straighten your left leg a little bit and then really drive your right thigh bone down and forward as if it was coming towards the head of your mat. Lift the front of the pelvis up, drive the back of the pelvis down, and that's going to be a super deep stretch. Now, if your body's ready, you can go deeper by just sinking into that left knee. Take both arms up if it's comfortable. Interlace the palms, flip them. Reach up, pull your shoulders down. Open up into cactus arms. Lift your belly, not your rib cage. So we don't want this action going. We want this action going, okay? We lift the belly up to tip back so slightly. So we just look up towards where the wall meets the ceiling. Beautiful, and then drop down, left foot back, knees down, lowering, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Last down dog of your practice today, so work with it however you'd like. Roll yourself forward in plank pose. Set the left foot forward. Wait, nope. Yeah, that's right. Yes. wait, where am I? What's going on? Drop the hips down. Send the left knee forward, the right knee or right heel back. Press your right thigh bone up. Roll up. Is this the side we just did, or am I crazy? Yes, it is. I'm not crazy. Right foot's gonna be forward. Like this feels very familiar. Sink the hips down, right knee forward, left heel back, left thigh up. And then roll yourself up. Lengthen out that right leg a little bit so you can really plug your left thigh bone down and forward as if it was reaching towards the head of your mat. The front of the pelvis lifts up, the back of the pelvis drives down. And then, if it feels appropriate, you can come a little deeper down. Arms reach up. This time as you interlace the palms, go in the uncomfortable manner. So just one finger over from where you were before. Flip them up. Reach the hands up. Pull the shoulders and the rib cage down. Release the hands, come into cactus arms. And again, we lift from the belly, not from the ribs. And swing down to the top of the mat. Left foot steps forward. Inhale, lengthen the back of the neck. Exhale, folding down. Take a couple long lengthening breaths here. Try to get your upper body to relax as much as possible. Take your feet a little wider and squat your butt down. Coming down into whatever variation of a squat works for you today. And wherever you are, think about opening your collarbones. You widen your rib cage. Drop your butt back. And then let's take a nice open butterfly position. So balls of the feet together. And we tip forward. Forehead dropping towards the arches of the feet. Rolling up. Go ahead and roll onto your back and take your knees with you. Hug them in. Got anything directly to the left or right of you, you just want to move it out of the way. Hug your knees in nice and tight. We're going to drop the knees over to the right. Take your whole body actually with you to the right. And hold those knees up into your chest. And kind of hook that left knee with the right elbow. And the left arm is going to open up and out to the left. Trying to press that left shoulder down towards the mat. And then release the right arm out to the side. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, pull the knees back center. Give them a little hug again. Feel your sacrum melting towards the floor as you do this. And then drop the knees over to the left. Take the whole body with you. You're going to hook that right knee with the left elbow and then slide that right arm out, dropping the shoulder down. Using your breath to massage your internal organs. Little internal hugs. Release the left arm out, and on your exhale, bring the knees back center. Give a good little wrap here again. Pull the knees down towards your rib cage and lengthen your low back down towards the mat. Open up into happy baby. If it feels good to rock here, go for it. Bring the knees back. Set the feet down. And then we're going to move into Shavasana. So if you need any props for Shavasana, blankets, pillows, bolsters, extra clothes, socks, go ahead and support yourself there. Beginning to slowly and gently move your body. Make your way over onto one side. And slowly press up. Finding yourself in a comfy position. Oh, take a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Take a second to revisit our 3-part breath. Belly, low back, ribs, chest and shoulders. And then releasing everywhere. couple more rounds of that. Like a wave undulating up your spine. Bring your hands together at your heart center. Thank you so much for breathing with me today, moving with me today. Namaste. Mm. Mm.